there are.
And I said, if not, then we'll do it.
You got it?
Yeah. Ben Pekor.
Okay. You were going to mention the Ben Pekor today, I think. We're starting on Yud Amud Beis. We're starting from Esvei. We've been asking questions. Reb Yirmiyah has been asking Reb Zera questions regarding the machlekes, and specifically the opinion of Bar Pada, that says that you can't sanctify an ubar, a fetus. And this was going according to the opinion of was it Reb Shimon? Who was it? In this whole machlekes. Okay. Now the Tanakama said.
Reb Yirmiyah cites yet another challenge for the opinion that physical sanctity cannot take hold independently on a fetus.
Right. Now this would be a kasha on Bar Pada, and the machlekes Bar Pada and Rabbi Yochanan was all in one of the Tanaim that said this. And which Tana was it? Okay, let's see. Okay.
Jeff? Hey, Jeff.
Esvei. This is where we're starting. Esvei. It's 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 lines from the bottom. Esvei. It's a quote from our Mishnah. Ein mei mirin lai evarim be'uvrim lai uvrim be'evarim. You can't do tmura from limbs of chulin to you can't make limbs of chulin tmura off an uber, and you can't make an uber chulin off evarim. The Gemara understands from this. A murei, it's supposed to be a murei probably. Yedalad is evarim. Oh, a murei without the yod. A murei who delay meimer. The limbs, you can't make them into Tamura or Mikdash Kachi, but they could become Kaidash. Now there's a problem here, because how do you make it Kaidash if an Uber can't become Kaidash? And as you can't make the limbs off the Uber Tamura, but the Uber had to be Kaidash. How the Uber get Kaidash? According to Bar Pada, it can't be, an Uber can't be makdish.
His mother's kaddish.
Ah, Malay bevlad kachim, who the kachri v'kaimi. But if we're talking about that, it has a child. That it was its mother was kaidish. It says 1 second. Ivlad kachim b'mei iman hu d'layavdin havrayavdin. What are you trying to say? If its mother's kaidish, that means that you can't use an ubar as the source for tmura. The Tmura would go off the Uber, even though the Uber is Kaidash, because its mother was Kaidash. It couldn't be Makdash it alone. Or Makdash its mother, and it became Kaidash. So that would mean that the Uber, you can't do that. But what happens after the Uber is born? Then it becomes a Vlad, becomes an offspring. Then you can do Tmura from it. One second.
When you're makdish the mother, the child is a separate transaction?
When you makdish the mother, so the child, when you makdish the mother, and then the mother becomes pregnant, or the mother was pregnant already?
The mother was pregnant already.
So if you makdish the mother, and the mother was pregnant at that time, that would be actually a machlekes. I think that would be part of this machlekes. If you makdish the mother, and then the mother becomes pregnant, then when the child is born, it gets the Kedusha.
Yeah, when the child is born.
Now here, what we're saying is that you can't do Tmura while it's inside. Okay. Now, but that's mashma from that after the child is born, Vaha Tanya or Vahatanan, Tmura. Even after the child's born, you can't do Tmura off it. Why? Because the Kedusha that was, you were originally makdish the mother. We're saying that the child is kodesh because of the mother. Now the child is born. That kedusha isn't strong enough to make Tmura onto something else. I'm using that term. It's not strong enough.
Like
but that's
a
the
second
halacha.
degree
It's like a
kedusha.
second degree. You see, Chaim mentioned something about Gilgulim, but if you would say over here that the father is Kodesh, now it has a child. So that child, just because his father's Kodesh, doesn't mean that he is an inspiration to not necessarily. So, okay. So Hamani, the Gemara answers it's Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar Havladei Sitzmur. We have an opinion. We have an opinion that says that once it's born, it can do Tmura, and so it fits. Everything fits with the Mishnah. While it's inside, Rabbi Yehuda Zatana, Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Loi, while it's inside, you couldn't do Tmura. How did it become Kodesh? Because you sanctified its mother. The Gemara says, 1 second. I Rabbi Yehuda, Tmura Hud Layavdi. If you're going to go along with this, then we're going to say that you can't do Tmura. Ha Mikdash Kadshi. But you can sanctify it, you can consecrate it on its own. You see, we're saying you
He
can't...
has the words Evarim. I'm not sure if that's a... Tomorrow the Layav de Evarim.
Evarim, that you can't do Tmura from the limb. You can't make the limbs Tmura. But Ha Mikdash Kadshi. But you would be able to make the limbs Kodesh on their own. So what that would mean is like this. We're discussing here, how did the Uber get Kodesh through the mother?
Because he's a limb, like a limb compared to a limb.
Well, no, because we're doing limbs to Uber.
Okay.
Limbs to Uber. We're exchanging. One of them is Kodesh, the other one we're trying to make Kodesh. We're trying to make the limbs Kodesh through Tmura. So we said that you can't do, even though the Uber is Kodesh through the mother. But that's mashma from that once it's born, then you would be able to do Tmura off the offspring, because that's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. But if you go back to the original, we said that the limbs, you can't make them Tmura. Mashma, that you could consecrate them independently of the full animal. Tmura they don't do. If you just go ahead outright and just consecrate the limbs, that would work.
But
The
then
problem
we say
is,
if you consecrate the limb, it goes, diffuses into
so that's
the
what we're going to
whole-
learn now. So the problem is that Rabbi Yehuda says, Ha'am Rabbi Yehuda, Varim Laikachi, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold of that. We're going to see details later today that it's not in every case. But how can you say that the limbs can't become Tmura? It's mashma that you could outright consecrate it, but it's not. But if we're saying it's Rabbi Yehuda, you can't do that according to Rabbi Yehuda. So it says, Hacha b'mayaskina, and what are we dealing with? We're dealing with a case where Rabbi Yehuda will agree that you could consecrate the animal through just consecrating the limbs. Which type of limb is it? Can this work? Only a limb that the whole neshama, that the whole life of the animals depend on. You mentioned this yesterday. Okay. Esrei, we're going to have almost the same question repeated. It says, Makdishin Evarim v'Uvrim. It says you can consecrate limbs and fetuses. Avalei Memirim, but you can't do Tmura. This is talking about in the next parak. It discusses stringencies that are in making something Kodesh versus Tmura. Okay, so the Gemara says the problem is straight. The problem is directly straight. It says Makdishin, that you can consecrate. It goes against Barpada. Barpada says you can't. The Gemara says, Hachanami bivladi kachim. We're not talking about that you're consecrating it directly. We're talking about that you're consecrating the mother. Bivladi kachim, my makdishim. If you're talking about the offspring or the fetus, what does it mean you're consecrating? You're not consecrating. It was kodesh already because you consecrated the mother. It's the wrong term. It says hachikamar. Makdishin evarim. You can consecrate limbs and you can do Tmura from them. You consecrate the limb and then you can take the sanctity from this animal that you've just consecrated because the kedusha of the limb spread through the whole animal. You can do Tumura off that animal. Avaloi meimirin evarim bahem. But I can't do Tumura onto other limbs. Just because I consecrated these limbs, I can't make chulin limbs, kaidesh off those. V'uvrim, or ubrim, if it's a fetus, shekadshu b'mei iman, that were consecrated in their mother's womb, ein meimirin behem. You can't do Tumura off them. Ein meimirin behem. You can't do Tumura off them. It's the base. Okay, so what we're saying here, what was our question? That it says that you could be Makadish and Uber. You could consecrate it. Makdish. You could be Makdish and Uber. Now we're saying, and so that's a kasha on Barpada. How can you be Makdish and Uber? Barpada says you can't be Makdish and Uber. So we're answering, no, it was consecrated from its mother. He says, but that's not the term that you use. He said consecrated. He says, no, we're talking about consecrating the limbs. The Uber's the second part of this. That's not where the word consecrating was on. The Gemara now asks, if we're talking about that it became Kodesh because its mother's Kodesh, then what's the issue? That it can't do Tumura while it's inside, while it's a fetus. But once it's an offspring, then you can do Tumura. But we have a Mishnah that the offspring cannot do Tumura. This sounds very familiar because we just had this in the last question. Gemara answers, Hamani Rabbi Yehuda. This is going according to Rabbi Yehuda. That Rabbi Yehuda says, the Gemara doesn't spell it out, that offspring can do Tumura. It says, Rabbi Yehuda, Ivarim Mikadshi. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, then how can you consecrate just limbs? Rabbi Yehuda says that it doesn't spread to the whole animal. So the Gemara answers, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold of that if you consecrate the leg, the whole animal becomes an eyeless. We're talking about the same thing that we said before, that it's the part of the animal that would make it, the whole animal, a treifa. Here we said treifa as well, right?
Before you said a
Oh, okay. So we're going to see over here that there's a machlekes, but that's going to be towards the end of the page. Something that would make it a treifa, so therefore Rabbi Yehuda would admit that the kedusha would spread to the whole animal if you makdish that part of the animal. Notice if it's missing, it wouldn't be a treifa. Lema ketanai. Let's say that this machlekes, if you're able to consecrate a fetus, let's say it's machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and Barpada. Let's say that it goes back, it's machlekes Tanai. It's an earlier machlekes. This is usually a problem when this happens. The Gemara considers this a question. It tries to resolve it. The reason why it's a question is because the Gemara doesn't expect Amiroim to restate arguments without mentioning the earlier sources. To just come along and to re-argue old stuff, and without saying I paskin like him, I paskin that you can say I paskin like him, but just to go through this again. So lema ketanai. It's usually a question. Hashechet is a chatas. If someone slaughters a chatas, listen to this. This is the Ben Pakua. Matzaba ben arba chai. And in the chatas, you find an animal. Usually the gestation is 5 months.
For a cow?
Yeah, right. Here it's 4 months. There it goes.
I thought it was longer.
The Kayan is looking for a business, taking care of his business.
That was Becheres Tafches. So
283 days, 9 months for a cow. Maybe more than 4 means more than halfway.
No, it's a goat.
No.
It's a goat.
A goat is a goat.
It says here the registration period of fetus of small varieties of livestock, tehimadaka, such as goat,
okay, so
yeah,
it's a goat.
sheep is 152.
is 5 months.
Uh-huh.
So goat is 5 months.
Yeah.
Okay, Yishakayach.
So you found a goat.
Colons and
A chatas is a goat, no?
on the throne.
A sheep and a goat are both 150.
Is it a female?
So
I think so.
amazing. But I'm saying it's
Yes.
it's not a
Okay.
cow.
So
He knows it's
this is a little bit.
This is veal.
This is a little bit less than full gestation. The reason why is because if it was full, then we have the opinion of Reb Meir that holds it's not a ben pekua. But we're trying to say it is a ben pekua. So here we have we shech the mother, and inside there's this under.
Seems like you're in shock. Can't hear a word.
2 days now. Tell us again, what's a ben pekua?
Ben pekua is an animal that's inside the mother when it's shechted. So Ketani Chada Eina Necheles Elel Zichikuna. One brisa says that the animal can only be eaten. This ben pekua can only be eaten by kayanim. Eina Necheles Elel Fnim Nakla can only be eaten in the courtyard of the Azara. Eina Necheles Elel Liyom Echad, and it has the status. It needs to be eaten within 1 day. It has the status of the chatas. Tani Yidach, there's another brisa that says Necheles L'chol Adam, that it's eaten, anyone can eat it. Nechalim b'chol makom, any place you could eat it. Ve'inin nechalim ba'azara, and it cannot be eaten in the azara. My love, Tanayi. This must be the machlekes Tanaim, exactly what we're saying. The Marsav kedusha chala alubrim, the Marsav and kedusha chala alubrim. The Gemara's understanding here that the person was makdish the animal when the animal was pregnant. The question is, when he consecrated the animal, is he able to consecrate the fetus? One opinion says that he only consecrated the mother. The fetus doesn't get consecrated. Who holds that? That was Bar Pada. The other opinion says that no, you can consecrate the fetus. That's Rabbi Yochanan. You can consecrate a fetus.
I have a different question. Why don't they put it up on the mizbech? If it's part of the
Doesn't
mother.
need to be shechted.
Not shechted. You have an animal, you put it all in the mizbech, and you have all
No,
the
an oila would be burnt. The chatas is eaten by the kayanim. This is just considered meat that the kayanim can eat. Certain parts are put.
So if it was an oila,
an oila would probably have to. Oila is a zachar, I think. But if it was an animal that was burnt,
in case the zachar was pregnant.
What if at the moment he was mocked to shit,
We woke him
the
up.
Ben Pekua stuck out a
I
limb?
know.
What happens
I
to
know
that
he was going
limb?
to come up with a good one.
you have to chop it off. Remember?
No, so I'm saying.
Go back to Chulun.
But the one who says,
Oh, man. It's very good,
one
man.
who says, it wouldn't alter with this machlokas.
It's probably the same thing.
We'll go back to
The
the
Gemara is adjusting. The Gemara is going to adjust now. There was an assumption here that was made. The assumption was that the owner of this animal consecrated the animal after it was already carrying the fetus. When it says like, that's not the case. Hani Tanai B'Hakam Mifligi. We're arguing about something else. The Marsav blood discussion about Yasin and Kadeshim. Here we're talking about that we consecrated the animal before it was pregnant, became pregnant later. And now there's another machlekes. If a pregnant animal is shechted, does the fetus, at what point does the fetus get the kedusha of the mother? While it's inside or only after it's born? So there's a machlekes here. One opinion holds Vadis Kachim Baviyasin in Kedoshim. One is after they're born, when they come into existence, they become consecrated. Marsav Vladi Kachim B'Meyimin in Kedoshim. Another opinion says while they're in the mother, they're already Kodesh. And here it's very clear because it was never born. It was shechted and you took it out. So is the animal Kodesh or not? If it's Bahaviyasan, then only after it's born it gets the Kedusha. But here it was B'Meyimin, so it doesn't have the Kedusha. Ravarn, we're 1 day behind. That's why it's going to be hard to find. Right? Viba Yasema. It's another shot over here in the Machlekes. I'm sorry?
Count the Persian one, the right there.
They're ahead of us.
Chad Tanahu. This is a very interesting answer that the Gemara says. You see, what happened here was we had a question. We thought that maybe this is a Machlekes between Tanoim. Are you able to be makdish an uber or not? A fetus. Can you be makdish a fetus? So that was our initial case, was that you have a an animal that's pregnant, can you be makdish the fetus that's inside together with the mother? That was and that we thought that was a machlekes. We said no, that's not the case. The case is that you were makdish the mother before it was pregnant, then it got pregnant later, and then we have a discussion when the fetus takes on the kedusha, only after it's born or even while it's inside. But if that's two different scenarios, we have two brises, so we can establish that one brise is talking about one scenario, and the other brise is talking about the other scenario, and there's no machlekes at all. So this is
Why can't? I'm sorry. Isn't the argument if the fetus could have kedusha or not between Bar Pedah and Rabbi Yochanan?
Yeah.
So why can't we say Marsa Vavlade Kachar Meimei Kedushin is Lemekatanai? How did he answer this?
No, because what we're doing is we're changing the scenario. Bar Pedah says that I can't go over to a mother that's carrying and be makdish the uber. Here we're saying that the mother, you were makdish the mother before it was pregnant, and then it gets pregnant, and then it gives birth.
So what does Bar Pedah say in such a case?
Bar Pedah doesn't talk about this. This is not his discussion. Bar Pedah is only talking about being makdish and uber after the animal was pregnant. Here you're being makdish the mother, and the mother gets pregnant, and then it gives birth.
No, this is the Iba Sema. You're
in the Iba Sema, yeah.
I'm talking about the one before.
Oh, so the one before, that's a different story. That the mother was not pregnant. The mother was pregnant already at the time of the consecration.
Okay.
So Bar Pedah would say that you cannot be makdish the uber, and therefore the animal inside is not a chatas. Anyone can eat it.
That's what they said. The Marsa Vavlade Kachar Meimei. So maybe that would be according to Bar Pedah.
No, before the Ibayis.
No.
Okay, so when the Gemara says loy, you see that loy, right. Over there we're already switched to the case where you're not being makdish the uber. You're being makdish the mother. Okay. And the mother gets pregnant. So Bar Pedah is not discussing this case.
Well, what would he say?
He doesn't, that's not his discussion. Okay. If Ladis Kadashim Bahaviyasan, I don't know.
All right.
So now the Iba Yasema says that Chatanhu Chadami Halamas Naisa, one of the brises, B'makdish Behema Bachkach Nesabra, is talking about that you makdish the animal and then it became pregnant afterwards. And one of them is talking about where you makdish the animal and it was already Mu'uberes. And over there, which one says what? Maybe it would go with Rabbi Yochanan. It would go with Rabbi Yochanan. Yeah, it would go like Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, now the Gemara says Tanan. It's Tanya. Tanan. It's supposed to be Tanan. Rabbi Lezer Reimer. Rabbi Lezer says Kalayim. This is the Tana Rabbi Lezer. Kalayim, a crossbreed. Tanan is a Mishnah.
And Tanya is a Brisa.
Yeah.
It says here it was a Brisa.
I have a correction. I have a correction here that it's a Mishnah.
Machlokes Rabbi Steinsaltz with Rabbi
Eliezer.
No, who's the rabbi who wrote the? I forget his name.
Rabbi Skrull.
I don't know who wrote.
Yeah, Rabbi Skrull. His first name is Art. So. Rebbe Lezer says, Kalayim, if you have a crossbreed, you treifa, and you have a animal that's a treifa, that means that normally means that it can't live for a year. Yetzi Daifen, it was born with a cesarean. Tumtum Adragonus, the gender is like undetermined. Like Kedoshim, like Makdishin. They cannot become Kaidesh, and they can't make other things Kaidesh. What does that mean? Amar Shmuel. Shmuel explains Rabbi Eliezer. Shmuel is the first generation. Amayra is explaining the Tana Rabbi Eliezer. It says, like Kedoshim b'Tmura, v'lei Makdishin lasis Tmura. You can't, like Kedoshim b'Tmura, you can't make them Tmura, and they can't make others Tmura. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. The problem here is, Tanya was taught in the Brayso, Amar Rav Meir, Me'acher she'enam Kedoshim. If they can't be Kaidesh, Heich Makdishin, how could they make others Kaidesh? The only way, you see, the problem is kalayim and treifa and yetzidoifen, then you can't make them into karbanos. You can't be makdish them. It's more than a balmum. It has to be that first you consecrated it, and then it became a treifa. So the kedusha was already there. Now we're saying you can't make tmura. Can't make something else kodesh. Otherwise, how did it get kodesh to make something else kodesh, right? You would have to, it has to get, we said that these animals cannot make something else kodesh. How did they get kodesh in the first place? They're more than a balmum. There's kalayim or treifa. These are not eligible to be karbanos. It must be that you're makdish the animal and became a treifa later. But what about the yotzedoifen and all of that? The makdish blood, you were makdish the fetus, the yotze derech doifen, and it came out as a cesarean. Alma kadosh vlad. Obviously, you can consecrate the fetus. Amri betam b'mei tmima fila bar padanami may the kaddish. Now we're going to qualify what bar pada really says.
So all these animals actually became kaddish when they were fetuses, and then when they come out, we find out, they're one of these categories.
Right. So, but now the problem is that bar pada said that you can't be makdish a fetus. So what?
That's his problem.
Yeah. So what we're going to say now, this is such a strong question, we're adjusting the opinion of bar pada. That bar pada holds that if the mother was a perfect animal that was eligible, so then you can be makdish the fetus as well together with the mother. The machlekes is if you can be makdish a fetus that doesn't have a blemish, in the mother that has a blemish. Bar pada sarvakim the emi loy makdish and kedush aguf hunami loy kaddish. Bar pada says you can't be makdish the mother. So you can't be makdish the child. You have two separate animals here. It's basically the machlekes of uber yerachimai. Is the fetus part of the mother?
So according to Rabbi Yochanan, while the mother has the mum, the baby could be mukdash.
Yeah.
He
holds that it's
without
a separate animal.
Without havayasan.
Havayasan is when
they're already born.
Havayasan is when a makdish a mother, and then the mother gets pregnant, and then it gives birth. That's right. Machlekes. Okay. Is a kodesh only here? We're talking about I have an animal that's pregnant, chulin, and I makdish it.
Oh, sure.
Okay, lishna achena. Another version of this. Aval kalayim tumtum androgenes yet moitzel b'vladi kachim. Those animals, how do they get them kodesh in the first place? That you have to tell me that they can't make tmura. It must be that they're offspring of kachim.
When it says that it can make it to kedusha, you're talking about kedushas mizbeach or kedushas bedakavay?
Our assumption the whole time is that we're dealing with mizbeach. We're talking about making it a carbon.
You could talk about value.
You're right. Okay. So that's our problem. That how did you get a kalayim into a carbon? It says it can't be a carbon. So we're talking about vladi kachim. We have to go according to Rabbi Yehuda that says normally a vlad can do tmura, an offspring can do tmura, but here not. Halein hu delay kachi gufayu aval ubrin acherim kedoshim. Do you read that? Normally, so halein hu delay kachi gufayu. These are not consecrated. But other fetuses you can. Oh, so this is a question. Excuse me, Rabbi Yehuda, Shahaya Imer Avlade Tmura. Okay, so now the Gemara asks. Okay, so 1 second. So these you can't do Tmura from.
She mentioned
because Kalayim. But you could do Tmura from another animal, on a regular healthy one. Amar Abaya. It's a kashan bar pada. So Abaya says, "Tam b'meit mima divrei kol kaddish kufa." If the mother is also perfect, eligible to be a karban, then you can be makdish it. If it's in the womb of a balas mum, where the mother cannot be a karban. Barpada savar. Even the eme nami like kaddish is probably even the eme like kaddish gufa iu nami like kaddish. That since the mother can't become consecrated, the child also. Excuse me, el only for its value, but it can't consecrate it as a karban. And Rabbi Yochanan savar ubalav yerech imayu. Da'afagav the ime like kaddish legufa. Vlad mia kaddish legufa, but you can consecrate the offspring. That's Rabbi Yochanan's opinion.
So this case, this last one, they were actually their intent was to mekadesh the uber, not the mother, because obviously the mother was a mum and they couldn't. So their machlokus was just in being mekadesh the fetus of a mum.
Right. Naftali would discuss the monetary issues here, because this is relevant for monetary issues. If an animal gores another animal, so you take the value from the perpetrator. So if the animal was pregnant, you take from the fetus, the value from the fetus. That has to do with, is the fetus part of the mother and all that. Okay, I'm Rabbi Yossi. We go back to what we learned in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi says, the Mishnah said like this. Rabbi Yossi says,